The invisible helper. Lena was an ordinary 12-year-old girl who loved playing in the snow. Every winter, she built snowmen, made snow angels, and had epic snowball fights with her friends. But there was one thing she didn't enjoy: shoveling snow. One evening, as Lena walked home from school, she saw her elderly neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, struggling to clear the snow from her driveway. She moved slowly, her hands trembling from the cold. Lena felt a pang of guilt as she watched, but instead of offering to help, she hurried inside her warm house. That night, as she lay in bed, she couldn't stop thinking about Mrs. Thompson. She must be so tired, Lena thought. What if she slips and falls? An idea popped into her head. She would help, but in secret. The next morning, before the sun was up, Lena sneaked outside with her shovel. The air was freezing and her hands ached, but she worked as quickly and quietly as she could. By the time she was done, Mrs. Thompson's driveway was completely clear. Without waiting for thanks, Lena rushed back home before anyone could see her. She did the same thing the next day, and the next. Every morning before school, she shoveled Mrs. Thompson's driveway, feeling a little warmer inside despite the cold. Then one morning, Lena found a small package on her doorstep. Inside was a plate of cookies and a handwritten note. To my secret helper, thank you for your kindness. I don't know who you are, but I hope you know how much your help means to me. With gratitude, Mrs. Thompson. Lena smiled as she read the note. She had never expected a reward. Helping had been enough. But in that moment, she realized something important. Kindness doesn't need an audience. The best gifts are the ones given without expecting anything in return. And so, with a full heart and a happy grin, Lena kept shoveling. Let's learn some words from the story. Elderly, AJ. Definition: a polite way to describe someone who is old. Example: Mrs. Thompson is an elderly woman who lives alone in the neighborhood. Struggling verb. Definition: finding it difficult to do something. Example: Mrs. Thompson was struggling to lift a heavy shovel. Trembling verb. Definition: shaking slightly, usually from cold, fear, or weakness. Example: her hands were trembling from the cold as she tried to clear the snow. Guilt noun. Definition: a feeling of having done something wrong. Example: Lena felt a pang of guilt as she watched Mrs. Thompson struggle. Sneaked verb. Definition: move quietly and secretly. Example: Lena sneaked outside early in the morning to shovel the snow. Freezing, AJ. Definition: extremely cold. Example: the air was freezing and Lena's fingers ached as she worked. Reward noun. Definition: something given in return for a good deed. Example: Lena never expected a reward for helping, but she received cookies and a note. Audience noun. Definition: a group of people watching or listening. Example: kindness doesn't need an audience to be meaningful. Gratitude noun. Definition: the feeling of being thankful. Example: Mrs. Thompson wrote a note to express her gratitude to her secret helper.